Greetings, this is Paul Griffiths recording a message for BCMG. Hello, all my friends at BCMG. I'm at Lydstep, or I'm approaching Lydstep Haven, which is just below the small village of Lydstep in Pembrokeshire, close by where I live. And I've brought you here because this is a place I came to 18 months or so ago. Whoops, just opening the gate. Wow. When I was trying to come up with words for Christian Mason. Now here you can see sycamore. It's Easter Sunday, morning of Easter Sunday, so sycamore is coming into leaf. But below the sycamores, which are very, very common here, there are the most immense trees. Here is one that I know of in this neighbourhood, and they are beech trees. Here's one ahead of us going up into the sky. Not in leaf now, it's covered with ivy. And you may be able to hear the sound of the waves lapping against the shingle down below us. I'm walking carefully because we're descending over roots and rocks. Let me show you the terrain and my boot. So, here we are. As you can see on the ground, it's covered with ramsons, wild garlic, which has this rather beautiful white flower. But when I was coming here, it was in September, October. That, of course, was all over, and what I was coming for was to see, and here we are, we're going through a sycamore canopy, down, 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 to where these great beeches are. What I was coming for was the beech trees, to see the beech trees, feel the beech trees, and now we've come to a block in the path. One of these huge trees has fallen down. I'll just take you up again to get some impression of the height of these trees. What does it mean to be with a tree? It means to be stationary, obviously. I tried to imagine that the tree has mental powers. You may be able to see the sea below. I can see the sea below. Imagine that a tree has mental powers about 1/1,000,000th of our own, powers of awareness and reasoning and memory, but are about 1/1,000,000th of our own. I could imagine that my dog's mental powers are something like 1/10th of my own. But trees, let's say it's 1/1,000,000th. Well, these trees, I was looking up this matter this morning. These beech trees, they have a life of 150 to 200 years. And as you can see, they're not in the pink. There's one down there, or a couple down there, just clogged with ivy. And then there's this fallen one that we saw before. 150 to 200 years. What is it like to be in one place for 150 to 200 years? Well, 1/1,000,000th of 150 to 200 years is about an hour and a half. So if I stood here and held the camera as still as I can, and we just stood in silence for an hour and a half, would we get an impression of what it is like to be a beech tree? Well, up to a point. But we would be thinking about all kinds of other things. It's a kind of sort of discipline that we put ourselves into when we're listening to music, to go into an experience and try to put aside as much of the rest of our lives as we can. But also for us to be standing in one place for an hour and a half would be extremely unusual. I'm not sure that I've ever done that in the 72 years of my life, stood in one place for an hour and a half. Whereas for these trees, that's what life is, being in one place. So they retain their mystery, they retain their unapproachable selfhood. I wondered how these trees came to be here, because, as I said, there aren't any beech trees in this region. And I was looking up the history of this place this morning before coming out here. Lydstep Haven was developed by a gentleman with the very musical name of John Adams sometime in the first half of the 19th century. So these trees are approaching their final stage. And the estate was, John Adams ran the place as a quarry. Right below me you can see where the rock is carved out, and there's a quayside made out of huge blocks of stone. Sailing ships would come, take the limestone, presumably up the Bristol Channel. I don't know whether this was used as building stone or for making cement, but that was the commercial history of this place, and that business dried up. I don't know, maybe there were cheaper ways of making cement. And John Adams sold the estate in 1908 to the first Viscount St David's, John Phillips, first Viscount St David's, and his son and heir. He had two older boys who were killed in the First World War, like so many families of that time. But his son and heir, who was called Yestin Phillips, would have spent his childhood here in the 1940s, 1950s. Yestin Phillips, who succeeded his father, the second Viscount St David's, when he was 21, has a strange and not irrelevant claim to fame in that he was the first person to move the camera around about a bit so that this is not totally boring. He was the first person to mention in the British Houses of Parliament, because he was a Lord, sitting in the House of Lords, first person to mention climate change when he asked, was the glorious, this was 1969, was the glorious summer that had just been experienced the abnormal summer? Was this going to be the new normal? I don't think he used quite the phrase new normal, on account of the burning of fossil carbon fuels, as he put it, producing a greenhouse effect, as he put it. So this place, which he would have known as a child, as a boy and as a teenager, did that leave some impression in his mind? Probably the family came here for summers, one would imagine. They might have had other places where they were at other times. His son, who became the third Viscount St David's, Colwyn Phillips, also has a place, maybe not a very great place, in the history of music, because he was a Rossini scholar, and he owned the largest collection of Rossini manuscripts in private hands at the time. And if the title Viscount St David's kind of rings a bell with you, that might be because much more recently the fourth Viscount St David's, Rhodri Phillips, by that time, by his time, which is our time, this whole place had been converted into a caravan park. Rhodri Phillips went to jail for inviting on his Facebook page someone to do damage to Gina Miller, who had campaigned successfully on behalf of having Parliament have a say on the matter of Brexit. I don't know if you can, I can see through the trees over there down to the house which the Phillips family would have inherited from the Adams family, which Yestin Phillips, who made the speech about the greenhouse effect. That's where he would have spent his childhood. Let me just see if I can expand this, and maybe we can get a glimpse of the house down there. I think it's too misty for you to see. Anyway, thank you for listening and watching, and goodbye from the beech trees of Lydstep Haven. Thank you.